All right, guys, time for us to explore the importance of literature for teens and young adults during this time, during COVID-19. Have with us Professor Opal Palmer Adisa, Director of the Institute for Gender and Development Studies with the UWI, and Julius Gunter, Chevening Scholar, children's writer with the University of Bradford, or at the University of Bradford in the UK. Morning to both of you. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Morning. Thanks for having us.
Good. So, Prof and Julius. So, Julius, you are working with Professor? Or you're the editor for Prof's work?
We are co-editors of the latest issues of her journal, Interviewing the Caribbean.
Okay, gotcha. So, Professor Opal Palmer Adisa, tell me a little bit about your work in this area and your advocacy for kids to be reading and for what they're reading to be good at this stage of their life, to lay that platform for the future.
So it's my dream to have a children's journal for the Caribbean, because we don't. But anyway, this issue, the last two issues of Interviewing the Caribbean, which is a journal that I found, focused specifically on children's literature and focused specifically on featuring writers, publishers of children's literature in the Caribbean, because it's vitally important, particularly because of social media and the way in which globalization has shrunk us, that our children know about our culture. And I find here in Jamaica, last year I did a workshop at the library for a summer program they had. I was surprised at how little children knew about the geography of the country, the birds and the trees, and not being able to name them, not mention the folklore. So I am particularly interested in showcasing Caribbean writers and Caribbean visual artists who are depicting the Caribbean. And so bridging the Caribbean, we tend to know a lot more about North America, but not enough about Jamaica and Trinidad and Barbados and the things we share and the things that we have that are different, but in some ways are similar. So that's my overall objective. And Julia, very bright and young writer, whose work I had published and whose mine I like, I invited him to co-edit these two issues with me, and was a tremendous help for his insight and inroad into some of the younger writers and some of the innovative things that are being done by writers and publishers for children's literature throughout the Caribbean.
Yeah. Professor, before Julius, kids read kids' book. What is the suggestion here, that they're not reading what they ought to be reading?
Well, it's not only that they're not reading what they ought to be reading, I think they're not reading enough. I think they're very preoccupied with these subjects. And one of the things that Caribbean Reads, which is one of the publishers we featured, was to invite some of their writers, Julius and I are both one of their writers, to read books for children during this COVID-19 period, because we want our children to be more informed about their voices or their landscapes.
Yeah, Julius, tell me about the focus on child abuse in the region. It's not really I was going to say it's not a child-friendly topic, but it certainly, as Prof was saying, is an important part of the conversation and the education for children to kind of allow them to know what is happening around them. Talk to me a little bit about that focus.
Well, one of the things that I find very interesting is that child abuse, as we well know, is very pervasive in the region. In Jamaica, for example, there has been, since the restrictions that came up from COVID, a significant increase in child sexual abuse cases in the country. These are realities that our children face. We do not address these realities in our literature. And in fact, in Jamaica in recent years, there has been a significant pushback by various conservative organizations against the efforts of certain NGOs and individuals to engage children in these kinds of conversations. I believe that perhaps the greatest healthcare challenge that this country has is what is known as adverse childhood experiences. And I say this as someone who has studied adverse childhood experiences at the master's level. And adverse child experiences refer to the various adversities that children go through. For example, a child who has been through 4 adverse childhood experiences, let's say who has experienced sexual assault, physical assault, bullying, community violence, according to the statistics, is 32 times more likely to have behavioral issues or to struggle to learn.
Wow.
And we see in Jamaica the vast social and economic disparities that exist. And we see evidence of this in the underperformance of children from certain backgrounds in this country.
Yeah.
And we need to have this conversation. And one of the things that I wanted to do when I was invited to the journal, that I decided to do, was to not only have a conversation about children's literature and young adult literature, but to talk about child abuse in the Caribbean and how we can use literature to have some of these conversations so that our children will have a little bit more clarity about why they feel the way they feel.
I hear Prof talking about the fact that she's noted or noticed that a lot of the young people don't know a lot about their own situation, their own culture, their own circumstances. I see in this brief that y'all are saying that books geared towards children should encourage learning and further interest, shouldn't bombard them with situations or ideas that they're not capable of handling at such a young age. Prof, this has a lot to do with how we are writing for our children. I mean, we want to engage them, but really and truly, the art of writing for children is just that. It's an art. And is it that we're not doing it well enough?
Well, I think that it's that we're not necessarily being allowed. So, for instance, Diane Brown is probably one of the most popular Jamaican children's writer now. And I've had conversation, and she's also featured in the journal about how the various restrictions imposed on children's writers, as Julius has mentioned, in terms of topics that we feel and that we know are vitally important to children that publishers don't want us to deal with. You see? And so it's really important that we understand that there are different ways in which we can talk about these subjects. And one of the things we know is that good literature provides those rules. You know, it was discovered by scholastics and other places in the USA that we needed to write about death for children. We needed to write books about dope. We needed to write, we need to write books about sexual abuse. We need to do that in the Caribbean, and they're not Caribbean books that are dealing with those things. And it's not because we don't have skilled writers, it's because we're afraid, or certain conservatives, as Julius has said, feels, we shouldn't, those are taboo topics. But in fact, they are topics that are having perverse and lifelong impact on our children.
I just want to say too, very quickly, that we do generally underestimate the resilience of our children.
I think
and
so,
the intelligence
too.
of our children.
I think so too. I agree with you, Julius. Go ahead.
Right. So, I mean, I can think of books that have been written in other jurisdictions that address these really important topics. But in the Caribbean, as I said, perhaps one of our most problematic issues is with the conservative factions that exist here.
Yes.
Mostly the religious right that do not want us to have these conversations. And I find it, as I said earlier, very problematic that there is this resistance given the fact that children are actually having these adverse experiences.
Yeah.
So what will these children do? How will they process these experiences if they do not have opportunities and avenues to express themselves and make sense of the complex emotions that they're feeling as a result of trauma?
Yeah, I hear what you're saying and I agree. And sometimes if you take the time to have conversations with your child, or sometimes them come to you with some questions and you're like, like how would your little mind at this point have been able to formulate this question? So I think what you're saying, Julius, is spot on. For folks who want to be able to have access to this literature, Prof, where are we sending them to?
Okay, the Interview in the Caribbean is published by the University Press, and Julius, I think, has that information more accurately than I to share with you. But I just also want to say that we need to have an outlet for our children to write their own stories and to express their own.
Good point.
That's really important. Julius, could you tell them?
So print copies of the journal is available at the UWI Press office and on the Mona campus, as well as UWI Bookshop, which is also, of course, on the Mona campus. And they can be accessed as well at Kingston Bookshop via special orders. And of course, there are online copies available at Book Fusion and at Amazon. For more information, potential buyers can go to uepress.com.
All right.
Okay.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Professor. Thanks a lot, Julius, for joining us. And you both stay safe. All right.
You too. Thank you.
Professor Opal Palmer Adisa, Director of the Institute for Gender and Development Studies at UWI, and Julius Gunter, Chevening Scholar and children's writer. What a great interview, Simone. That was brilliant. No, I'm serious. You did wonderful.
Are you working this morning?
I am. I was right
Okay.
here. I'm supporting you and
I'm
stuff.
not sure.
What is your daughter reading?
Erin reads, she has this book called Dark Diaries. She loves those. She loves anything with adventure, escape. She
And
writes
these are
her own
school
stories.
books, or these are books that you give her to read?
Books that she's gotten as gifts over the years. My sister is a readaholic, so she has
What about school
given
books?
her a
What
whole
did you
library.
Do you agree that the youngsters are not getting?
I do, because they're more tied to their gadgets, a lot of them. So what Erin's teacher has done is she's mandated that every month they have to do a book report on at least one book, so she can be assured
That
at
they're reading
least-
something.
Right, which is important.
Yeah.
So I agree, but I think their minds have the capacity to embrace.
Were you a reader?
Not really until later
Are you a
on.
reader?
I don't do as much now as I should, but it's something I'm trying to get back
Well, I
into.
didn't read at all, but I read a lot now. And I learned a lot.
Have you read 18 Laws of Power?
No, it's not 18. Michael reached 18.
Okay.
It's 48, but I reached about 14. So
It's still named 48 though,
it-
even
it
if you
named-
reach
it
14.
named 48. But I read like crazy now. It's incredible because, again, I hated literature. I just
Yeah.
didn't like reading at school. But now, I remember starting this Robert Ludlum book, Born Identity, and I think I've read every single
That's
Robert
mystery
Ludlum.
and that's not my thing,
espionage,
though.
and I read a lot of John Grisham, which is court based. And
Not
I
my
like that
speed.
kind of stuff.
Okay.
What do you read? Mills
Read,
and
read
Bone?
18 Laws.
18 Laws. We're down for Michael. Oh, Michael, Michael win the.
Actually a very good book, guys. If you can, you should read 48
Is Michael win the
Laws of
competition
Power.
and him get two? Well, no, him get two right. And I get half of three right. So, yeah, I agree with you, Richard. I get three right. Michael go sit down. Speaking of sit down, we're going to go for a break. When we come back, you will see Vashan sitting down. And he will,
What kind of segue is
He
that?
will read.
That is the worst
he will
throw
read news
I've
in
ever
5.
heard.
You just love it. You see, when you just love things, I should know how to tell me say it nice.
Take it, master.
Aye. The cat won't take it, master. Aye.